Good afternoon, learners and teachers from the Western Cape, and I believe there are also learners and teachers from the other provinces tuned in this afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to Business Studies Telematics session number 2. I trust that you are relaxed, that you are going to enjoy the session and that you are going to participate as we go through the session. This afternoon we're going to look at creative thinking. It's part of the content that should have been completed now in the first term, and it's part of our business roles. But learners and teachers, before we do that, I would like to welcome a good friend and colleague of mine, Faranaaz Dawood. Faranaaz, welcome to the Telematics session, and would you mind telling the learners and the teachers just something about yourself?
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Momberg, and good afternoon to the learners out there. I'm Faranaaz Dawood, and I'm a curriculum advisor at the Metropole South Education District, and I'm very pleased to be here today, and I certainly hope you're going to enjoy today's session.
Faranaaz, thank you for that. Learners, let me remind you of the SMS number. The SMS number is 31498. 31498. Please let us know we are tuned in and we will acknowledge your presence. Faranaaz, the slide says keep calm and learn business studies. I believe that is what learners should do throughout the year, isn't it so?
Absolutely so, Mr. Momberg. Being calm is extremely important for every matriculant. And though we know that being in matric in itself has so much pressures placed on you, from your parents, from your educators, from the principal, from your curriculum advisors, from your senior curriculum planners, all of those pressures for you to perform. Yet we want you to be calm and to be relaxed and to have a plan in action.
Great stuff, and more calm anybody can't be than what you are currently. So yes. Thank you for that calm introduction. Learners, I just want to remind you, whatever we are going to discuss this afternoon, it's in this telematics booklet that you received. Please make sure that if you're in the Western Cape, all schools that are part of this program received a copy of this booklet, and this booklet will carry all the content that we'll cover throughout all the sessions of telematics. You'll see right at the bottom of the booklet is the Western Cape curriculum website, and this website is important because the PowerPoint will be uploaded onto that website during the course of the week. So, yes learners, we are going to look at creative thinking in a very creative way, and I think that lady Faranaaz just personifies what we're going to do today, eh?
Yes, she really looks like she's deep in thought. She's thinking.
Do you think she's got to make a decision, or has she got a problem?
I think she had a problem,
yeah.
And she looks as if though she's looking for solutions.
Okay, great.
To the problem.
Yes, absolutely. Faranaaz, I see we've got Kensington tuned in already, and they say they are looking forward to the session. Kensington, that's Mrs. Hussein and I think Mr. Stein or Mrs. Stein and Mr. Morris, and their grade 12 learners are tuned in. Right, learners, so let's give some context to what we do. And I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Whenever you do any topic in business studies, please always ask your educator under which main topic does the topic fall. And so we're going to do creative thinking today, and you can see creative thinking falls under the main topic business roles. Faranaaz, you've got something to say about the management of the learners' notebooks with regard to those 4 main topics. Would you like to expand on that quickly?
Yes. Learners, currently you have your notebook in which you are adding notes from the board that the teacher is sharing with you, and also notes that you are going to add if the teacher requests of you to do further research and to add to those core notes. So you're going to take your notebook and divide it into 4 equal parts. And those equal parts would be EVRO, which Mr. Momberg, you've probably heard about that term before. The E would be for environments, the V for ventures, the R for roles, and the O for operations. So once you have divided the book into those 4 areas, and as your teacher continues to give you notes, you are going to add the notes into that respective main topic areas. And what this fundamentally does for you is that when you are going to study, it's going to be so much easier to study. Because I've often heard learners say, Mr. Momberg, that business studies is just so much work. The volume is just too much. And when they get to study and the notes is all jumbled, then the information also end up being jumbled and scattered in the brain. So when you are going to study for the exam, whether it's your control test now or the June exam, you would know that when you study environments, you would study all the notes under environments. And this is going to help you to be meticulous in your study methods, and also when it comes to answering your questions in your section B and in your section C as well.
Faranaaz, words of wisdom for a very youthful educator and advisor. Thank you for that. Colleagues, learners, yes, my email address, ldmomberg@gmail.com. If you are perhaps in another province and you do not have the resource booklet, please send me a mail and I will certainly email you a copy of either the PowerPoint or the telematic notes. Faranaaz, a definition of creative thinking, what would that be?
A definition of creative thinking. Now let's not look at the definition in the book yet.
Okay.
But if we think of creative thinking in itself, the word itself means to come up with something fresh, something new, something unusual, and at times an idea of something that somebody has never thought of previously. And so being creative means thinking out of the box, coming up with innovative ideas. And what was the other word? Something that's unusual, refreshing. All of those adjectives we can add in terms of being creative.
Faranaaz, can you just expand on that? For a business, an organization, creative thinking, is it important for them to think creatively? Why would it be important?
Well, it's definitely creative, and I think learners will also agree that if a business is not creative, can you imagine how this could possibly affect their profits if they are thinking the same way they are now 5 years later? What would have happened to companies like Sony, who at first had the Walkman? I don't know if learners know about the Walkman, but those are one of the things that back then in my day, when they had the Walkman was with a cassette.
Yeah.
You insert your cassette and this huge earphones across, and you could listen to whatever songs or music or whatever you wanted to listen to back then. But look how things have changed now, and the demands have changed. And so you need to be creative. A business needs to be creative so that they can come up with new ideas to feed the needs of their clients and also to take care of their profit margins.
And also to be one step ahead of their competitors, isn't it so?
Absolutely.
I remember when computers came out for the very first time, I'm not sure, you weren't born yet, but we had that orange screen. It was the orange one, and it was a very static one.
Yes, yes.
Time has changed, eh?
Absolutely. I mean, if you go further back, Mr. Momberg, the typewriter, when you made one mistake, you'd have to start all over again. And now with computers, you just simply have to click and go back and just erase your mistake and move right on. But imagine, I don't know, if we had those orange computers, would people want to buy them, considering the technology we have now?
Absolutely.
If we were to have a store just down the road of where we were, would people want to buy those orange computers that you couldn't do anything? There is I don't even think you could get internet connection on there.
Absolutely not. Thank you for that. So, you say creative thinking is basically thinking out of the box, coming up with new ideas.
And to be one step ahead.
To be one step ahead.
Yeah.
Great stuff. I see that Tarka High School and Raymond Maslaba High School in the Eastern Cape, they are watching and they say they really appreciate the program. We say thank you to them.
That's wonderful feedback.
And also to the teachers. Faranaaz, now, learners in grade 12 are expected to distinguish between problem solving and decision making. Now, people often think it's got the same meaning, but there are distinct differences between the two, isn't there? So,
yes,
problem solving, what would be the key words that we look for under problem solving?
Well, firstly, if you have a problem, what is a problem? You have to firstly identify the problem. What is creating this problem? And we all know that problem solving in itself is a process where we evaluate alternatives and we are also going to use research in order to solve a problem. So you're going to have to find out all the possibilities and alternatives to solve a particular problem.
Yeah, and later on we're going to look at the steps for problem solving.
The steps for
So
problem
I think the key word there is you evaluate all the alternatives. That's the key word.
Yes.
Faranaaz is just a request from Tarkastad High School. They appreciate the program, but they say, sorry, but you are too soft. Please upper your voice. So maybe we need to just speak a little bit louder.
Me.
They are, I must add, they are all the way from Eastern Cape. And so maybe that's the reason why they're not hearing us properly.
Yeah.
But thank you for that feedback. Faranaaz, the steps in problem solving. Let's just go through those steps. Very important for learners to know these steps for exam purposes. Let's go through the steps quickly. First step.
We have to identify the problem.
Second step.
Define the problem.
Third step.
Identify alternatives.
Step number 4.
Evaluate alternatives.
Step number 5.
Choose the best alternative.
Step number 6.
Implement the decision.
Step number 7.
Monitor the decision.
And step number 8.
Evaluate the decision.
Now, learners, you will certainly not have time to rewrite all these steps. The steps are indicated in the resource booklet. And I also indicated that if you do not have the notes, I will email that to you. But for now, let's just stop here with the problem solving. This afternoon, on our way to Stellenbosch and the telematics session, we had a problem.
Yes, we had a problem and we had to...
And that was step number 1. So
yes, we had a problem.
What
now,
was
what
the
was
problem?
the problem? We have to identify the problem. The problem was that we couldn't find parking.
So parking was a problem.
Parking was a problem. We couldn't find parking.
And so the problem is parking. And so in defining the problem, it was the fact that we couldn't find parking, or parking was not reserved for us.
Yes, there was no parking reserved for telematics. We couldn't park where we would have loved to park, which means we had to now go into step number 3. We had to identify alternatives.
On the spot.
On the spot. I'd find alternatives. How are we going to solve the problem? Because the car has to be parked.
Yes. And we had to be in the studio at a certain time.
Yes. And so we had to come up with those alternatives very quickly.
Yes. So what were the alternatives? Either we had to stay there in the middle of the parking area.
Argue.
And argue. That was one option.
And express that we need to park and we have to be at a certain place, which was not this person's problem at all.
Absolutely.
It was our problem.
Yeah.
So he's not interested in solving our problem. This gentleman is interested in advising us. What his job is that there's no parking.
Absolutely.
Right. So we could argue with him.
Yeah. Or we could just leave the car there.
We could leave
switch the car off and leave.
And leave and risk the car being towed away.
Absolutely. But that was one alternative.
That was an alternative, definitely.
The second alternative was we could go and park in the road.
Yes, we could park in the road.
Yeah, okay, but we were just busy identifying possible alternatives. We didn't look at the consequences yet, right?
No, not yet the consequences. So we could go and park in the road. Alternative number 4 was we could go and park
at the mall.
At the mall.
At the cost.
At a cost. We would have to pay for that parking. So the road parking is free. The parking of just standing right there where we are and just abandoning the vehicle and moving off to where we needed to be, the cost we would have to pay later of risking the vehicle being towed away.
Yeah, but you're one step ahead now again. Remember, we are just identifying the alternatives. Yes. Step number 4 is actually evaluating the alternatives. So now we've got, remember, we leave the car there. First alternative. In the middle of the entrance, blocking everybody's way to the parking. The second one was parking in the road. And the third one was parking in the mall, parking area. So that was identifying the alternatives. Then we had to evaluate the alternatives right now. First one, leaving the car there in the middle of the parking area, blocking everybody's way. So was that a good option?
It would probably solve the immediate problem of
Us not-
rushing
Yes.
to where we wanted to be. The car would be parked somewhere and we would be off. The risk implied,
They could have towed us away.
they could have towed us away, they could have clamped the wheel,
Absolutely, yes.
paid a fine.
Yep.
Um,
Let's look at
it
the
could have caused an accident,
yeah.
massive inconvenience to everyone else.
Let's look at the second alternative, parking in the road.
Parking in the road entails that, while it's not a safe space,
Yep.
the car could have been broken into.
Yeah.
I don't know, somebody could have driven into the car.
Oh, please do not wish that on my car. Okay, then the third one, the third alternative was
The mall.
the mall.
The mall,
It's quite a distance.
it's a distance from where we actually had to be.
Yeah, yeah.
But the positives were, let's look at the negatives. Must we use the negatives first?
Yeah.
The negatives was that we had to pay and we had to walk a distance.
Yes.
That's two. The positives were,
It was a safe space.
it's safe and we'd have a ride home.
Yeah. That's good.
We'd have a ride home. So those are the positives.
Okay, so that was, so we identified the problem as parking.
Yes.
We defined the problem. We couldn't find,
We couldn't find
parking wasn't reserved for us.
allocated for us. Yes.
Allocated, that's correct. Then we identified three alternatives.
Yes.
Leave the
which
car
was
there.
Leave the car
Park in the road
or park at the mall.
at the mall. And then we evaluated each of those alternatives.
Yes, where we mentioned the positive and the negative.
That's correct. And then we chose the best alternative. So we chose to go to the
mall.
We chose to go to the mall.
We chose the mall.
And then we implemented that decision by actually driving to the mall.
Driving to the mall, parking the car, taking a little ticket,
Yeah.
and then walking our way back here. So we implemented that.
So now we just need to monitor our decision. Was that the right decision?
I absolutely think so, because it's not going to be a bright decision to get back wherever we parked the car and discover that the car was no longer there. So,
And then
yes,
we
it
need
was
to
bright.
evaluate the decision. Will we do it again, given the same circumstances?
Yes,
Okay, I do the right thing.
we'll do the right
We'll
thing.
do the right thing. So, Learners, that was just a brief role play of the
Steps
steps
in
in problem solving. And basically, businessmen, businesswomen in organizations, they've got to go through the same steps to solve problems. Okay, while we were role playing, there were quite a few schools and learners tuned in. It says, Kaya Mamputa, what is CPA? Is that the Consumer Protection Act?
Yes.
Yes, that's a Consumer Protection Act, and that's actually dealt under recent legislation. And I think we covered it in the last session. So if you give me a call or send me an email, I will forward the notes on the Consumer Protection Act. Tafelsig is online, and they say they're enjoying the session. However, they say it's a bit hot there in Mitchell's Plain. Tafelsig, don't worry, soon it will be winter. Hey? Faranaaz, I can't pronounce that. Is it Colmsel Secondary in Kirkwood, Eastern Cape? They say they find the session very useful. They Afrikaans medium school, but we find the prep for the next day. Yeah, no, they're one step ahead because we're actually going to broadcast this session in Afrikaans tomorrow. Okay. And so they're one step ahead, but that's good. Yeah, there was another question. There's another learner saying, we're loving the show, thank you. Please indicate your school. I don't know the name of the school.
Malikaya.
Yeah,
Kanya.
Kanya is again asking insight on the nominal group technique. Now we are getting to that one, eh? The nominal technique, we will get to that one. And then the definition of scamper, we'll come to that one later on. And yes, you guys are awesome. Keep up the great work. Well done.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you, Linus, for that.
There's something about Evro.
Is there something about Evro?
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this. Can you
From
please
Ilan.
tell our teacher about Evro? Okay, let's retrack quickly. Okay, do you want to tell them?
Evro is not my boyfriend, eh? But I will tell you, teacher, about Evro.
I wonder if you can have a overhead shot here quickly. Technician, just give us an overhead shot.
Okay.
Faranaaz, the E of Evro
Environments.
is environments. Now learners, your grade 12 content, even grade 10 and 11 business studies content consisted of 4 main topics. And the main topics are firstly environments. Faranaaz, the second one?
Ventures.
Ventures.
Then we have roles.
Then we had roles.
And fourthly, operations.
And then we had operations. So learner, that answers your questions about Evro. But you need to know something more than that. Now these we call the main topics. There are 4. Now each of these main topics, they've got topics. Now time does not allow me to mention all the topics. However, I'm going to tell you, environments has got 3 topics. Ventures has got 5 topics. Roles has got 5 topics. And operations has got 2 topics. So in total, you must have 8, 13, 15 topics that covers your 4 main topics. But please send me an email and I will expand on this as soon as I get your email. Faranaaz, the next thing. In contrast to problem solving, decision making, what is the key concept that must be remembered under decision making?
Decision making, I think that's something we do every day. And in businesses, this is extremely important. You have to make decisions, and sometimes you have to make swift decisions, but informed decision. So it is the practice of considering a number of existing alternatives. And those alternatives would be your solutions, possible solutions.
Okay, so the key word there with decision making is that the alternatives, they already exist.
Yes, you are given, you have the alternatives.
For example, I'm going to study. Where am I going to study if fees don't fall?
Oh, okay.
Am I going to study
I
am I going to study at the University of Stellenbosch, or the University of the Western Cape, or the University of Cape Town?
Lovely.
So I'm giving those
you have
3
given
alternatives.
The alternatives.
It's existing alternatives.
And when you have given existing alternatives, it means that the only thing left for you to do is to decide. Make a decision. Where am I going to go? Is it going to be at Stellenbosch? Is it going to be UCT? Or is it UWC? And then that also involves, you have taken the pros and the cons of every place into consideration, and you decide which one would be best for you, most suitable for you.
Faranaaz, so learners are based with decision making every day.
Yes.
Am I going to study, or am I going to watch television?
Or am I going to WhatsApp?
Or am I going to the movies?
Or am I going on Instagram?
Or am I going to sleep?
Yes.
So that's decision making. So it's dealt with every day.
Yes.
Okay.
Every day we have to make those important decisions, and they impact on us later on.
Absolutely.
Maybe not immediately at that very point in time, but later on in life, those decisions actually catch up.
Yeah.
Sometimes sooner than later.
Great stuff. So we've got different creative thinking and problem solving techniques. Now learners, these techniques, you dealt with them very briefly in grade 10. However, we're going to expand on them, and more importantly, the application thereof. In grade 12, you're expected to know that. But before we do that, let's just acknowledge some of the learners that are tuned in and watching this session. It says here, thank you for the insight and the knowledge. Ilham would like to have the email address. Ilham, I'll give it to you again at the end of the session. What is meant by alternatives? Do you want to expand quickly on that? I think it's important that we explain to them what is an alternative.
The alternatives would be our possible solutions, possible solutions, because you are going to have to now decide, once you are presented with the alternatives or the possible solutions, as to which of those possibilities is going to be best for you or for the business.
Okay. Yeah, so for example, you've got this decision to make. That's your decision. Mm-hmm. Are you going to sleep? Are you going to study? Are you going to watch TV? Mm-hmm. And what was the other one? Are you going to?
WhatsApp.
Are you going to the movies?
Oh, movies.
So these would be your alternatives when making a decision. So you've got to choose from these alternatives what are the best for you and what will stand you in good stead in future. So if you know what's good for you and you are a matric learner and it's on a Friday evening, then the best alternative would be to study.
I almost thought you were going to cross over sleep, Mr. Momberg.
No. You cannot afford to sleep.
So those are all the alternatives.
They are all
the possibilities of things you could do.
That's correct, yes. That is correct. Okay, so we've got different creative thinking techniques. What's important, you must know the techniques.
Yes.
But more importantly, how do you apply these techniques to solve problems? That is very important for grade 12. And so Faranaaz, do you just want to go through those techniques quickly?
The Delphi technique.
Number 2.
The force field analysis. Brainstorming. Mind mapping. Nominal group technique. Scamper. Forced combination. Empty chair technique.
And it was very interesting that a lot of the questions relates to the different kind of problem solving techniques, and learners are asking us, please explain, how does the force combination work? Can you please explain the empty chair technique? Explain the difference between brainstorming and mapping.
And mind mapping.
And mind mapping.
Lovely questions.
Lovely questions, eh?
Lovely questions.
I think then learners, I see some of you have provided your email addresses to me. Unfortunately, I will not be able to respond to the email addresses coming through the Telematics system. At the end of the lesson or presentation, I'm going to again put on the slide with my email address, and then you can certainly send me an email and I will then respond. Faranaaz says, Mzolu Matotu says, I didn't know about Evero. Thank you. I think you did a great job explaining that to the learners. Righto, so let's see quickly. Faranaaz, we did something to remember the different problem solving techniques. Do you still remember if we use the first letter of the technique? What sentence did we come up with? Don't. I think the first was
Don't
fight.
Don't fight.
Don't fight.
Be.
What was the B one? Be mindful. This was don't fight. Be mindful. Normal.
I think we had don't fight, be more normal.
Oh, that's right.
Surely
friends
evolve.
Okay, so
very good. Very good.
So your friends might disagree with you.
Yes.
But the key is not to fight with them.
Don't fight with him.
To be creative, because don't fight.
Don't fight, be more normal. Surely friends evolve.
I think that's a brilliant way if you can use the first letter of the technique.
Yes.
And just remember that sentence. Just say it again quickly.
Last time. Don't fight.
I think maybe you say it slowly so that I can write it down.
Okay. Don't fight. Be more normal. Surely friends evolve.
Okay, great stuff. Don't fight. Be more normal, surely friends evolve.
Evolve.
Okay, so there's your 8 problem-solving techniques. Then if we look at the Delphi technique, Faranaaz, do you want to run through that one quickly? There's one of the learners asking us the definition of the Delphi technique, and Ilham says she likes that 8 ways of remembering the different problem-solving techniques.
It's great stuff, Ilham. The Delphi technique, it's used to solve big problems for which there seems to be no previous examples of solutions.
I think it will come in very handy now in South Africa, with all the problems we are experiencing with our economy and with the currency and with the rand and with happening in Parliament. I think they need to use some of the Delphi techniques to solve some of the problems. So it's used to solve big problems for which there seems to be no previous examples of solutions. So it's again being innovative, creative.
Yep.
Okay, the second step, Faranaaz.
It's a panel of anonymous experts are invited.
Faranaaz, maybe you just need to explain the word. A panel, what is that?
A panel would be
A group?
A group of anonymous experts, meaning nobody would know who they are. They are invited.
Okay, so the panel of anonymous experts. So even the different experts that are invited, they also don't know of the other experts being invited.
Yes, and they are basically given a questionnaire.
Okay.
Right?
A
questionnaire is distributed.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Then?
Anonymous responses are summarized.
Okay, so the problem is actually factored into that questionnaire
Absolutely, Mr.
in the form
Momberg.
of questions.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
And then their responses are
It's summarized.
summarized. Now, learners, if you only remember that of the Delphi technique, you are guaranteed of 8 marks.
Wow. And nobody can afford to give marks away.
Yeah.
Not at any time.
But remember, we've got learners that would like to get the full Monty of 12 marks.
Yes.
So we need to expand on that quickly. So what's the 5th step?
A feedback report is sent to the panelist with a second set of questions, which
Okay.
means
Yeah.
they have been given the questionnaire, and then they are going to summarize the responses.
Their answers.
Here we go. Summarize that.
And that is sent to a central point.
Yes.
Okay, so they don't know what the other one responded to.
Nobody knows what was the other person's response or who the response belongs to. Right? So now when they have this summary, they've made the summary, and then they are going to issue with a feedback report. That feedback report is sent to the panelist with a second set of questions.
With a second, where there were perhaps grey areas or areas that weren't answered satisfactory.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
And then?
The panelists read feedback report.
Okay, I think that is given, eh? If
Absolutely.
you get
yes.
the report, you should
then
be
you're
able
going
to
to
read it.
read.
But it's good to throw that into your answer because then there's another 2 marks.
That's right.
With the way they use it now, splitting of the marks, you'll get the panelists will read 1
what
mark
did
for
they
that,
read? Yes.
and the feedback report, another mark for that. Teachers, please note that when you do set your question papers, your memorandums, it must include splitting of the marks, both in section B and section C. Please refer to the 2016 notes to markers. You'll find it as part of the memorandum of the 2015 NCS examination. Righto. Next step, Faranaaz.
So when they read this feedback, the panelist may decide to change the original decision.
Yeah. And then finally,
The process is continued until a decision is reached.
okay, great stuff.
Okay, so if no decision is found, they would just simply repeat it.
Send it to the panelists again.
Summarize again, send those questions off again, and then report back and give feedback once again.
Okay,
Okay,
great
but
stuff.
at the end of the day, a decision has to be made.
Thank you for that. Okay, the second one, the force field analysis, what happens there?
The force field analysis, very interesting. It's write the plan or proposal for change in the middle of a sheet of paper. But now before we even get to that part about the force field analysis, we should all know that when we are involved in the force field analysis, it would be to bring about whatever the decision is or whatever it is, the problem is, that you are now going to have options for those in favor of a particular thing or those who are resist the particular change.
Resist simply means against.
Against. Yes.
Against, yes. Okay. So write the plan or proposal for change in the middle of a sheet of paper. And we're going to explain to them how to do that.
We're going to do it on there, yeah.
Okay, we're going to explain that. Then, the next step.
We have to list all the forces resisting change in the column on the right.
Right, so the forces resisting change. Now, sometimes they do it on the left also. You must just make sure that not many people that resist on negative, and left is always seen as being
for negative.
For negative, even though it shouldn't be like that. So even if you just make sure that you put the right force and the right reasons under the correct force. Either it is for or it is against.
For or against, yes.
Right, so in this case, just to be different, we're putting the resisting changes, those who are against.
Put that on the right.
On the right. And then?
Then we list all the forces in support of change on the left. And this is because we have a particular example that is in that way.
That's correct.
But, yes. So those in support of change, you could also put on your right.
Yeah. And this is an important one, eh?
Yes, and this is what basically makes the force field analysis.
Yeah.
You assign a score for each force from 1 for weak to 5 for strong.
And it simply means that the reason that they're giving, it's either a weak reason, which is 1, or the reason being advanced is a strong one.
Yes.
And that's a 5. Important that one of the reasons can get more than one. So the reasons can get more than similar score. So it doesn't mean it's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You
That's
can
right.
have 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be one rating for each of the reasons.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, and I think when we see the example, you will be able to see what that refers to. And then finally, once you've given the score,
Add the total score for both the resisting and support for change. So you're going to basically have, Mr. Momberg, the two sides, the left and the right, the resisting and the support for change. And in each section, you are going to tally up the scores, the resisting as well as the supporting. You're going to tally it up. You're going to add it.
And then you're going to make your decision based on the scores,
On the scores.
the total scores.
Yes.
Okay, I think
And what would that decision be?
Yeah, I think let's just look at an example quickly. So weighing up the positives and the negatives, I think that relates to the different scores.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I think we might have a slight problem there, but I think that disappeared and we are back on screen
Back on
again.
track.
Right, so Faranaaz, I think this is what you started off with. You say in the middle of the page, you write down the proposal, and this proposal here is you plan to upgrade the hospital services with new equipment. That's a proposal.
Yes.
On the left are all the factors that
are in support.
In support.
In
that
support.
that proposal.
There we go.
And on the right,
We have all the factors.
all the factors that are resisting.
Resisting that proposal.
Resisting simply means they're against it. And so, for example, upgrade hospital service with a new plan. What are the supporting factors?
Supporting is that patients want new services, improve efficiency of patient care, increase patient throughout.
I think the throughput.
Throughput.
I think that's very, very important. So simply means that the number of patients coming in is close to the number of patients going out or going back home. We don't want patients coming in and then
And they are not seen to.
Oh no, they come in and then they must go to the cemetery. Then then the throughput. It could be that because of the equipment, the dated equipment that they have in the old one, and so the throughput is not high.
The throughput is not high.
Yeah, so we need to make sure that
Patients are leaving alive and healthy when they leave.
absolutely. So we've got a high throughput.
I hope the learners enjoyed that one.
No, but
I don't think they're going to forget that one. Increase patient throughput.
Increase patient throughput. Yes, I think that's a nice one to remember.
And then
control rising staff and maintenance cost. I think and that simply means that with the old building, it becomes dilapidated, and so you've got to maintain it, and so the cost is just rising and rising. Whereas even the staff cost with a new facility, you don't need that many staff members, and so they're also saving money. Faranaaz, time is running out very quickly, but on the right-hand side, we've got the negatives. It's going to be disruptive.
Loss of staff
over time.
Staff frightened of new technology.
Why are you looking at me when you say that one so frightened of new technology?
Was I looking at you, Mr. Momberg?
It looked like you think I'm still a dinosaur.
I'm sure the learners are probably thinking, why? I'm sure that your teachers are using technology inside the classroom. And if they're not, encourage them, because technology makes your lessons exciting.
Yes. Faranaaz, you indicated that we assign a score from 1 to 5. And here you can see patients want new services. It's got a 3. Increase the patient output. I think that should be a 5.
Or should that be?
That should be a 5. And so similarly, we do the same for the those resisting support, or resisting the change. And then we add up the total. So did it add it up correctly? That's 12. That's 10. So here you can see those in favor or supporting the proposal is 12. And those against would be 10.
So what does that mean, Mr. Momberg?
The decision will be made to upgrade the new hospital services with new equipment.
Lovely.
And we use the force field analysis. Now, Faranaaz, there were quite a few learners asking us to please explain the force field analysis. We had John, we had Ibu Suguamo, and quite a few others wanting to know how does the force field analysis work. And I think we tried to unpack it for them in a very easy and simple way, and I trust they would benefit from that.
And they could also just add, so if they have the telematics booklet and whatever you find is useful of what we're saying, simply add it to your notes. And so that when you are studying, it's going to be so much simpler for you to remember things which we are going to say.
Faranaaz, these learners today have been very constructive with their comments and very encouraging. Here, Christopher Yabu says, is there any place where I can get your classes because you guys know how to explain the thing that I could not understand? I think that
Thank you. And what is the gentleman's name?
Christopher.
Christopher. Thank you, Christopher.
Faranaaz, there were also a lot of requests.
Can you be our teacher, please?
I think that's Ilam.
Can you be our teacher, please?
Ilam has been quite busy. I think you've got a post.
I've got a post somewhere.
You've got a post somewhere, yes. There have been quite a few requests for us to explain the empty chair technique.
Empty chair technique.
So I think we should go over to that one. And then there was also a request for the Scamper. Okay. So maybe because of time constraints, learners, yes, we didn't want to rush through all these techniques. So we won't be able to finish all of them. But as I indicated earlier, the PowerPoint will be on our website during the course of the week. You've got the curriculum website address. If you don't have it, send me an email and I will forward the PowerPoint and the notes to you. Righto, so let's see which one. That was the... Okay, so we went through that one. Brainstorming.
The problem is defined.
Yes.
Participants suggest ideas and solutions at random.
Why is that important?
It's part of brainstorming. So everybody, basically, they are just going to suggest an idea without the fear of, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Does it not make sense?
Yeah.
and without being criticized.
So there's no right answer
There's
yet.
no right answer yet.
Yeah.
So everybody's just giving suggestions. Everybody's just giving solutions at random. All ideas are written on a flip chart. Facilitator encourages all to participate. No ideas are criticized.
Again, learners, if you only remember those 5, it's 10 marks for you. Okay,
Lovely.
so we are not going to continue with that. We're just going to move over to the next one. Mind mapping. Somebody asked about mind mapping.
Yes. Mind maps are diagrams that represent ideas or concepts, useful for generating ideas and problem solving. Has 4 main elements to it. There's a central focus, or a problem or a topic. Example, marketing campaign for a new range of tents. That would be your central focus. Various branches representing different main ideas or points are added. Example, products, SWOT, costs, ideas, etc. Those will all be part of your main branches. These main branches have thinner branches showing sub-points. Example, small, medium, and family-sized tents. So we're going to basically have our central idea, and then we're going to have our main branches that we said would be the products. We're going to include our SWOT analysis. We're going to include the cost, and then we are also going to have the main branches that goes into the little sub-points. We're talking about the small tents, the medium tents, and the family-size tents. And these branch off into even thinner branches, which contain more detail. So mind mapping in itself, it's very interesting. And I show, Mr. Momberg, are you going to draw them a little diagram?
No, we unfortunately don't have time for that. I think we
don't
need
have
to,
time for the diagram.
Yeah, we need to get to the empty chair technique. But I think they've got the gist of what you said.
Yes, they got the gist. The mind map, the main branch, and the sub-branches from there. All with points and going in a little detail into everything.
Faranaaz, Scamper. Now, this is what we call a mnemonic, where each letter represents an element.
Okay.
It's not really an abbreviation, it's a mnemonic.
A mnemonic.
A mnemonic. Each one represents a particular element. So the S would be for substitute.
Substitute. Lovely.
The C would be for
combine.
Combine. Now substitute simply means replacing one thing with something else.
Heavy.
Combine means putting things together.
Yes.
Adapt means to
change.
To change it.
Or to modify. There
to
we go.
change or to modify. P would be for
put to other uses.
Other uses. E would be
to eliminate.
To eliminate. And then R would be to
rearrange.
To arrange. So learners, your Scamper consists of those 8 elements. And before time runs out, let me just acknowledge the presence of is there any place where I can get your classes? Because you guys know how we said that, Christopher. Please explain the empty chair. We're going to get to that one.
I'm hungry. I'm hungry.
Yeah, Rosendal, hire a tutor because we're not on path with business studies. Thank you. Thank you, Rosendal. Explain forced combinations, definitions. Learners, here, unfortunately, we cannot cover all of them, but the different techniques are all explained in your resource booklet, and then also I will email the information to you. Faranaaz, if you look at that example, one of those elements, which one was implemented in that? Now, this was a normal staircase.
Okay.
And so what happened? They became very creative.
Extremely creative.
And I
like that idea.
And they developed a what?
Looks like a bookshelf.
A bookshelf, yes.
And looks beautiful.
It is. So what would this be? Put to other uses, modify,
I think it really could
Adapt.
be put to other uses.
They adapted it also, eh?
They adapted that staircase.
Yeah, so that would be the
And
adaptation.
they've eliminated so much areas of dust.
Absolutely.
And clutter.
Yes, 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 absolutely.
That's a beautiful staircase.
Yeah, so we actually use Scamper. Yeah, what happened here? Faranaaz, can you explain? This was a normal...
Is that a laptop on top?
It's a notebook. They used a book and they used the laptop.
The laptop. So
And-
now it's a notebook.
Now it's a notebook.
Wow.
That is also adapting, eh?
That's adapting.
Adapting. Now, this they normally use when somebody gets a heart attack.
And they want to revive them, bring them back.
Yeah. So what they do
And
is...
what is that now?
So now they've...
Is it a toaster?
Now it's a toaster.
That is super creative.
Absolutely. I think this one is putting it to different uses, eh?
This is also put to different uses.
I mean, it seems...
Definitely. It was used as something else previously.
I mean,
And now we are using it for some household purpose.
no, it was bought because there was a possibility of somebody in the family getting a heart attack. And now it's just laying there.
Now it's laying there.
And so instead of it just laying there, it was put to other use. And now they're making toast.
Okay. I like this one. I like it.
Faranaaz, this one. And then this looks like it's just a normal toilet set. But you can see on top here what happened here.
Is that a basin?
That's a basin with a...
Unbelievable.
That's
Talk
very
about water shortages
Absolute-
and
yeah.
trying to find solutions. That's creative.
Absolutely.
I mean, if I could find a toilet pot like that,
Yes.
I'd put it in as in yesterday.
I think I'll become a millionaire if
Can
I'm
you
a...
imagine what that would cost? Do you think it will cost more than other toilet pots?
No.
Because it would probably be one of a kind.
Yeah,
Do you
but
think that competitors at the edge?
No, I think maybe...
This business at the edge?
This could perhaps add maybe another 500 to 1,000 rand to the price. But just
Yeah.
think of the amount of water that can be saved.
Water that can be saved and money that can be saved.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to wash my hands and then I can flush the chain.
Yes.
Wow.
Lennis, yeah, wow, Faranaaz. Like they say in the classics, when you're having fun, then time really, really flies. We unfortunately didn't get an opportunity to get to the all the elements of the problem-solving techniques. But as you can see, it's nothing difficult about it. All you've got to do is just to make sure that you understand it and use examples to clarify it. Faranaaz, I really want to thank you for making this session so very interactive and very interesting. Thank you for your insight. Do you perhaps want to say closing words to the learners?
I'd like to say thank you so much to the learners and to the educators who are supervising them. And I would also like to say, learners, enjoy business studies. It is the best subject ever. It is so unbelievably practical. And I would love to see more business people walking out of our business classes.
Okay, thank you very much. There was just one last comment by Akona. I love your session, guys. Thank you very much. Learners, time for me to say goodbye. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for contributing to the session. And I trust that you're going to have a blessed rest of the week. Our next session will again be in April. See you till then. Thank you very much. Goodbye.